It's a wonderful, wonderful crowd, terrific conditions for football, and we'd like to welcome right now to our coverage viewers in Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth. You have missed out earlier on, of course, on the President's Cup, which was an emphatic win to the young Sharks. They defeated the Eastern Suburbs, almost escaped me, 30-6, and boy oh boy, that was very much a one-sided game, so they were in very, very good form. And in progress right now at half-time, we have the game between the Newcastle Knights and, of course, Cronulla Sutherland, and it's Newcastle up at this particular time with one try in front, but Paul Vaughton, it's just been a game of tremendous defence by Newcastle, particularly in that last 15 minutes.
It's been a very dour battle, hasn't it, up front, and Cronulla had most of the ball and they couldn't crack Newcastle's line. That's a good sign, and Robert Finch will be very, very happy at half-time with his charges. Newcastle, they played okay. They looked better with the ball in their hands than Cronulla have, and in particular Jason Martin's having a great game for them at halfback.
When you consider that they had so much of the ball, Cronulla, particularly in that last 10-15 minutes, and they go to the break without being able to cross for a try, it must affect them. I mean, they really did need that try badly.
Their confidence will be down, Kenny, because when you can't crack that line, you think, well, how are we going to get through these blokes? It's all right to keep putting the ball in behind the line and put the pressure on Newcastle, as they did very well, but you've got to get the points. They haven't done that, and I just believe on that last 15 minutes of that match that Newcastle can go on from here and win this grand final.
OK, well, let's take a look at the only try of the match so far, and that was scored by the Newcastle Knights. Let's take a look at it right now. Scored by, let me see, Eager.
Through Grogan. Now away to Skovgaard. He stands in the tackle to Chapman. 5 metres out. The Cronulla defence gets there in numbers. The last tackle for the Newcastle Knights. 5 out from the line. They run it with the overlap on the right side. Great ball from Jason Martin. And Eager gets the try, the number 17.
Well, I mentioned Jason Martin. He's been a cut above the rest of the players out there today, and that sort of football is what he's capable of. He hasn't had the best of luck since he went to Newcastle 2 years ago. He's now heading to the North Queensland Cowboys, of course, next season. He'll be a big buy for them, but he's having a great game today. Yeah,
he's a real all-rounder, isn't he? He's made some terrific scramblings for the ball when it's been loose on the ground. He's good in defence and he's good in attack.
Why he's good in defence, he's a great cover defender. He reads the play well, and when he sees a break happening, he almost see it before it happens, and he snuffs it out quite well. So he's a very, very good player. Well,
we talked about the defence of Newcastle, and none more evident in this tackle by David Smith. This was just a try-saver, and just typical of the way the Knights have played in this first half.
They're looking to go to the right side. The long ball, it comes away to Scott Brown, then to Nathan Long. Now to Bell, great tackle from David Smith. The ball went down to Coleman. Harrigan wants the changeover.
Yeah, big tackle there by David Smith. Very experienced, of course, but a ball and all tackle forced him off his feet, Jeff Bell. And so great tackle by Smithy there, and that's the sort of defence that has kept Cronulla out all day.
Well, Paul Harrigan's probably hit the nail on the head when he said that Cronulla's probably got to start trying to vary their play. It's all sliding across the back line. There's nobody taking the ball straight up the middle as often as they possibly should.
Ken, what they need to do is put a few run-arounds on, a bit of skill, turn the ball back inside to try and find a hole back on the inside.
But Paul Harrigan, of course, is very happy with the way the game's going.
Oh, exactly, yes. He's a Newcastle man. They're leading 4-0, and I believe they'll win this match.
All right, we will be back with the second half right after this. In fact, outside the stadium right now, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs have just arrived, getting all ready for what should be a fabulous game of football at 3 o'clock this afternoon up against the Canberra Raiders. You can see they all look fairly relaxed at this particular stage. Craig Polamander there, Terry Lamb, the man who so much depends, the Canterbury players depend on because of his vast experience, around about 305 first-grade games, so a man who's been and seen and done it all. And the players, I would imagine, after a fortnight's break, straight into this grand final, really looking forward to getting out on the paddock and playing a game of football again. They would be all rested up. They've got no injury worries whatsoever. It's fairly evenly split as far as betting is concerned, and why shouldn't it be? Because two teams have played outstanding football, and it's good to see that they're into this grand final on the form that they've shown. Right now, we're ready for the second half of the reserve grade grand final. Here is Andrew Voss.
Thank you, Ken. And Newcastle leading Cronulla by 4 points to 0 last year's grand final. The Knights went down to North Sydney by 5 points to 4, a similar scoreline perhaps today. But it's a different side of the scoreboard for Cronulla at the moment to be in front. check out what was said at half-time. Steve Roach on the sideline.
Yeah, well, in the Cronulla room, they'd like to see a few more options in their play. Obviously, they've had a lot of possession. He just thinks the game's revolving around Raper and Topper too much. And he said, look, it is a grand final. Who's going to be the player that's going to put his hand up? Just incidentally, Craig Greenhill, who went off in the first half with concussion, is back on the field, so that's good to see. In the Knights room, he said, look, they can't get through our defence. That should give us a lot more confidence in the second half. The possession's going to even up a lot more. We will get a lot more ball, but let's not fall into the trap of the Cronulla side. Let's try and get some points on the board.
That was Craig Greenhill with the first hit up for the second half, so back out on the field. Pretty heavy tackle too he met first up. It's Raper with a pass away. Kearns just over the 20. And Cronulla just don't know what they can do to come up with a try on what we've seen. Unless they start throwing the ball around willy-nilly, I suppose. As Raper turns it inside, this is Pearce up to the 30-metre line, and that is the 5th tackle for Cronulla. So again, a good start defensively for the Newcastle Knights to the second half. And that kick on the first bounce straight to Robbie Ross as he brings it back. He is a dangerous runner from the back, Robbie Ross, the fullback. Tackled that time by Andrew Pearce. The pass away to Egar. We mentioned right at the top, Newcastle, they're chasing their first ever premiership in any grade. Runners up in reserve grade last year to North Sydney. As blindside they go. This ball with Paul Marquette, the second rower, wrapped up 41 metres out from the Cronulla line. The tackle came from Wilson. It comes across to Butterfield. Certainly a forward, in my opinion, who's good enough to be playing first grade week in and week out. As Martin now going for the field goal early on in the second half. As was the post by 20 metres short and 20 metres to the side.
Yeah, can't agree with that option there by Jason Martin. Long way out. And, I mean, 5-0 at this stage wouldn't make much difference. Different if it was 6-0. They were trying to get to 7. In the end, a waste of a tackle, and I think the high ball would have been better served there.
I'd say he's probably been told to do that. It's been so far out, it wouldn't be an instinctive thing.
This is Kearns. 30 out from his line playing it. Across it comes now to Greenhill. Up to the 40-metre line. Again, the last tackle for Cronulla. Away to Scott Brown. He beat the first man. That was Skovgaard chasing through quickly. That's a better kick from Scott Brown past Robbie Ross. He's got that 10 metres to see if he can get round the defence. He certainly can't get past Stuart Topper. Pretty heavy tackle over the top from Adam Marr it was. David Smith with a second hit up. Grogan. Away it goes to Vincent coming back in field. Tackled there by Alan Wilson. There's a shot at Chris Anderson. What's going through his head at this stage? Just under 2 hours away from kick-off in first grade. I guess he's thinking all the work has been done that he can possibly do.
I think sorry.
Knock on the play the ball here by Damien Driscoll. So was there a hand in there? It was all caught now. Is that a shocker?
I think what Blocker said before is very true there. Someone needs to take hold of this game. The completions for Newcastle have been terrible. It's around about 30%. They've missed a lot of tackles, and for my mind, Cronulla are in a little bit better position. They've been completing about 50%. They've got the ball, and they've worked hard to get the situation where they are now. Adamar
gets up inside the 30. Raper in a dummy half. Top of the blind side. Turns one man back inside. A very flat pass in front of the man, Chris Quinn.
Well, that was a set move gone wrong there. Looking to hit back on the other side of the ruck there, looking for the defence not to have worked. Now, both markers had gone over, so there was a hole there, but just a terrible pass.
Well, they've used 2 replacements, 2 forwards, Pearce and Kearns. But perhaps some thought they've got David Peachey, of course, backing up from President's Cup on the bench. He could be one player that can make a break, and perhaps they've got to throw him into the fray.
And, of course, Adam Ritson there. He's had first-grade experience, a very, very good player.
It's Driscoll trying to get up to halfway. The tackle came again from Adam Marr. Crossfield comes Wayne Richards. He's off to the Illawarra Steelers next season. A good player, Wayne Richards. As Collins, good step off the left foot, got away from Kearns.
Tell us a bit about Collins, Chief. Where has he come from? Local?
He is a local boy, very good. He's played Australian schoolboys and a bright prospect for us. He's got brilliant feet for a front rower, and we're expecting very big things from him.
And he's all signed up to by the Newcastle Knights, Stuart Collins. There's Cronulla back with it. 30 out from the Cronulla line. Across to Coleman. Trying to get away from Watson, he does. Away from Butterfield. Watson comes again. Coleman gets away from him. Big run from Glenn Coleman. Last game today for the Cronulla Sharks. And 10 short of halfway, Raper. Blindside is Greenhill. Tackled there by David Smith. Also, there was Wayne Richards to lock forward, and a penalty against Wayne Richards and against David Smith. Not getting off the man, so Cronulla with a chance to go on the attack inside the Newcastle half. Here it is again. Wayne Richards had control over the top. There's David Peachy on the bench, the player we were talking about. Very talented runner of the football. Maybe that's the instructions he's getting right now. Maybe he's thinking, when's Bill Peden coming back on for Newcastle?
Shut it out, you guys, will you?
And this restart coming from Aaron Raper, 32 metres out from the line. As Topper takes it forward. And wrapped up that time by Richards, the lock forward. Raper again. Cross it comes to Marr. Gets over the 20. In fact, it's Alan Wilson tackled. 15 out from the line. So Ken Cronulla, their first attacking chance for the second half. When they do what they couldn't do in the first half. Not for the lack of chances either. 10 out from the Newcastle line. They're spread out to the right. Topper. Across it goes to Brown. He passes this time on to Quinn. Quinn sights an opening. The long ball finds Coleman taken into touch. Big tackle by the Newcastle Knights in cover. Glenn Coleman thought he was there for the corner.
Oh, what a tackle. I think it's by Grogan in the end. Chris Quinn went through. And Coleman, a great one-handed take. Smash-a-rooney, over he comes. Grogan.
Again, I'll suggest that Cronulla, again, showing no real options there in attack. Just the slide defence gets it every time. They've got to get some inside balls.
David Smith from that scrum. 15 metres out from his own line. There'll be nothing to flash from Newcastle as they work it out of their danger zone. Jason Martin is playing it. Blindside they go. Tony Butterfield sucks in 3 defenders before they can get him to ground. Newcastle up by 4 points to 0. A try way back to Michael Egar in the 5th minute. It looks like it could well prove the match-winning try. Possibly the only try we see. Jason Martin just limping back into position for Newcastle. Loose pass back to Egar. Steps away from Wilson. Gets it on to Skovgaard. Now they have to run it on the last. Martin with a left footer downfield. In the end, he's done very, very well, Jason Martin. Plenty of Cronulla players back there, but the bouncing ball allowed the Newcastle chase to get through. Jason Martin's in all sorts of trouble.
No, that was a great play by Jason Martin. He was down injured. He virtually just got up, saw the ball coming at him, then kicked it.
Both sides showing a bit of fatigue.
There's Cronulla. Raper throws the ball now to Marr, tackle 10 metres inside the Newcastle half. Comes across this time to Greenhill. He's fully recovered from that knock now. And tackled by Driscoll. Also Butterfield over the top. It is the last tackle. They've used up 5. The Cronulla Sharks across to Brown. He kicks. Well, that kick is just straight down the throat of Robbie Ross. Didn't quite know what that was about. You either try the chip over the top, possibly kick for the corner, but the kick was just too deep. It was like the long bomb. And Newcastle able to come back up with the ball with Grogan. Another onlooker, of course, the first-grade referee for today, Greg McCallum. Watching Bill Harrigan's performance. Why would he want to leave Australia and head off to Great Britain? He's the #1 referee in the game. Good answer, Fatty. Thanks for that, mate.
Money?
Yeah, possibly.
No, he's got a very secure job over there, and he's been in the game 10 years here. Maybe he just sees here's a chance for Newcastle now. No. Well handled by Cronulla, and they get a penalty out of it within the 10 metres. But McCallum obviously looking for a change of scenery. It's a nice cushy job for him over there, director of referees. And, I mean, the game is getting faster, and Greg probably was slowing down a bit.
Won't have much use for the sunglasses, though, will he? Good, aren't they, that pair? And Cronulla back with the ball from the penalty. Are all offside, the 3 Newcastle chasers. So this match, 10 minutes into the second half now, still at that halftime score of Newcastle 4, Cronulla 0. I don't know where the next try is going to come from. It was Raper. He throws it on the outside. Pearce crashes it forward. And tackled 45 metres out from the line. They come back to the left side. Scott Brown tries to put on half a step as he gets to the line. Jason Martin comes up with a tackle. He looks to have recovered from that knock. As forward goes Adam Marr. He stumbled. Tackled there by Marquette. Raper on the last tackle. That's a better kick. The short kick through for Wrigley. Can't get to it. There's some variety in the kick that time. Something different from the Sharks. Was left to the hooker, Aaron Raper.
I think one option Cronulla must explore soon is the short kick over the top. Jason Martin, the halfback, is playing in the line for Newcastle, and there is plenty of room there for a short kick. They've got to start trying something different.
That pass standing in the tackle was David Smith. No one wanting the ball. Grogan picks up the loose pass. And he's tackled just short of halfway. It's the last tackle for the Newcastle Knights. Skovgaard in a dummy half. Martin looking for the line this time on the western side. Bounces straight for Chris Quinn. He fields at the chase there that time. He links up well with Kurt Wrigley. He's away over the 20. Up to the 40, Kurt Wrigley coming across Jason Martin. He cleans him up over the sideline.
What a player.
That's his trademark. Jason Martin, the cover.
How good is he going today? Great cover. Ordinary defence up front there by Newcastle. 2 players going for the one. That left Cronulla with a man down the side there. Jason Martin was the only man in sight within 100 metres and smashed him over the sideline. Great play.
It's the longest break Cronulla have had in the game. And this scrum just short of the Cronulla halfway mark. With a hold up with this scrum. Front row certainly can't meet. Martin working it. Skovgaard, the 5'8", fairly quiet. The 5'8", Paul Skovgaard, played much of the year in President's Cup. In fact, I think was their captain in the under-21s. There's now the ball with Vincent. They're 40 out from the Cronulla line. Richards goes the left side, puts the man through the hole, David Smith. He's away from one, turns it inside. It's play on for the Knights and punted over the sideline. The man coming through in cover was Damien Driscoll.
Well, there haven't been many chances in this game today, and this is one. David Smith bursting through the gap there. Had a man coming back on the inside in Grogan, who was held back, as a matter of fact, by Coleman.
And now it's Cronulla. Well, we've seen Newcastle attempt 1 field goal in this second half. I think they might be going for another next time they get close. But as it is now, 4 points is going to be a winning lead as Bell over the 20 and tackled 25 out from his own line. Now the step came from Pearce. He runs straight into the defence of Marquette, and also Butterfield finishing off the tackle over the top. This time Greenhill met front on by Driscoll. They're 35 out from the Sharks line as Raper. Across the line now to Kearns with a hit up. They've used up 5. And Raper with a kick out of dummy half for the last. Straight to Grogan. And with a bit of room to move now for Brett Grogan. Equally good was the tackle, the chase of Bell.
The intensity's been quite low so far, and I just sense that Newcastle starting to realise that there's 20 minutes gone already. They need to pick it up and apply some pressure, and Cronulla the same. They've really got to, as we keep saying, the key players have got to lift now. The game's in the balance.
There's Newcastle. There's Big Mal Meninga making his way down the tunnel. The Brains Trust alongside of Tim Sheens. All the time counting down to the grand final. The crowd not really lifting to this match. A real arm wrestle at the moment. 20 minutes out from full time. Martin with a kick over the top. And it's a little too deep. Chris Quinn comes up with it. And taken high, I thought, in that tackle. Gets it back up to the 20. Smith, it was over the top. No fullback at home at the moment if Cronulla want to try something daring early in the tackle count.
Fatty, Cronulla do really look tired, don't they? They are starting to struggle.
Well, they had most of the football, and I think their confidence is lacking because they just cannot crack this line. Here's a chance now, though, out wide with the space.
Brown goes through the tackle, inside ball, Kurt Wrigley's away. He's got a man unmarked on the outside. He gets the pass to Paul Donaghy. He's the fastest man in the Sharks club, and he shows why. Gets away from the cover, and it's 4-all, and the kick will come from a relatively easy position. Try to the centre, Paul Donaghy. Cronulla and Newcastle locked up at 4-all.
Well, that'll lift them for sure. Just when there was nothing doing, Newcastle well on top. This try's come out of virtually nothing. The defence out wide for Newcastle is virtually non-existent as well. Couple of long ball here, that's the important pass, that one. The missed tackle there, and away they go. And Donaghy trails on the outside, waiting for this pill, the defence coming over. Good ball, that one. And Donaghy too much speed for the Newcastle cover defence.
Yeah, that defensive line for Newcastle was terrible. It was all over the place. But that's a great try there. And I tell you, confidence-wise, they needed the game. Is just in the balance. They've taken it by the hands. As I said before, they were a little bit lacklustre prior to that, and they looked a little bit tired. That's a great try. Interesting. And Andrew, your call of a draw or extra time here could be a good one.
Well, that's the try scorer, Paul Donaghy, celebrating with a half backflip. But Kirk Wrigley's the man at the moment with the pressure. Just the man we can say who set up the try. He has the goal-kicking duties. Try number 7 for Paul Donaghy in 1994. This kick for Wrigley. 15 or 16 metres in from touch.
And as Wrigley's moving in here, Andrew, do you think the Newcastle players are yelling out "Chewy on your boot"?
I don't know, Fatty. I don't know. I doubt it, though. Kurt Wrigley, big moment for him in the reserve grade grand final at 4-all. Around the corner kicker. He moves in. It's swinging 2 points to the Sharks, and a vital 2 points. Cronulla 6, lead Newcastle 4. And the Sharks with their noses in front. This is the first set of 6 after the kick-off. Brown with a kick on the last. So now it's up to Newcastle to try and edge their way back into the game at 2 points down. 25 out from their own line. As coming upfield is Shane Vincent. As the troops get ready to come back on, no sign of Peden. It's Porter, or rather Madison and Chapman about to come on. Butterfield standing in the tackle that time. Martin in a dummy half for Newcastle. The pass away there to Wayne Richards. Taken ball and all. Still gets the pass away. Jason Martin's away now. David Smith wrapped up on halfway by Glenn Coleman. 2 veterans. As Madison back on and tackled. 40 metres out from the line. It's the last tackle for the Knights. Jason Martin. He stepped off the right away from Raper. Then kicks over the top. It's been touched in flight. All the Newcastle players onside. And in the end, a pretty good take from Paul Bell, the Cronulla centre, with Robbie Ross steaming through. As Coleman gets away from 2. So they've lifted the Cronulla Sharks. They were looking tired. They'll try. All of a sudden, they can sense a second victory for the day. As Greenhill, strong charge, good hit up from the front rower. Craig Greenhill almost up to halfway. He took 3 defenders with him. And now it's the turn of Nathan Long. He stepped back into the tackle that time of Tony Butterfield. And Raper's in a dummy half. They will kick on the last tackle. It's Scott Brown. This time trying to find the line. It takes a nice left-hand bounce and finds touch.
Well, that's been a great go-forward set there for Cronulla. They've come from their own 20 and finished 10 yards out from the Newcastle Knights line. You know, that the work they've done in the first half is starting to pay dividends now, and they've kicked.
Chief, Newcastle now starting to look tired. Their intensity seems to have dropped with that try against them, and they seem to be struggling.
I think the first 10 or 15 minutes, it was a very lacklustre. The intensity wasn't there, and I think Newcastle really needed to push home the advantage they got from defending there in the first half, but they didn't make the most of it, and Cronulla now have 6-4, and they're looking pretty good.
Newcastle at the wrong end of the field to where they want to be, as now the ball away to Egar. Good tackle front on from the Sharks again. It's Paul Donaghy, the centre, who makes the tackle. There's Martin away to Shane Vincent, using himself as an extra forward, tackled that time by Pearce. They're now 25 out from their own line. Smith in the play. So we've had 3 backs with the hit-ups for Newcastle on those first 3 tackles. Chapman in a dummy half. They go the blind. This is Marquette trying to stand. Gets the ball back inside to Chapman. Through Richards. Away to Martin. Couldn't get on the outside of the man coming through. That was Robbie Kearns. They've used up 4 tackles now, the Newcastle Knights. Butterfield just gets it inside the Cronulla half. And tackled in turn by Alan Wilson, the Sharks captain. Jason Martin now on the last tackle. Kicking for the flank of Glenn Coleman. Again, the chase is there from the Knights. Smith took the man out.
Well, did you see that? Was Smith offside? I thought that they showed him a clean pair of heels there with the pace. I thought they were onside.
I thought they were onside, but he didn't go for the football. He took the Cronulla play out, Coleman instead. There it is here. Yeah, well onside. And but Coleman never had a chance to get to the football as Smith leaps up. That's a silly penalty to give away at this stage of the game.
Cronulla up by 6 points to 4 now, 13 minutes out from full time. I'll tell you what, if they do get a penalty, Newcastle in kicking range, I don't know about backing Wayne Richards to get it home. And just on David Smith, you mentioned in the first half, in fact, he's given up goal kicking altogether, just doesn't want it. It's Cronulla's 40 metres out. It's Greenhill. It's been a strong comeback from the young front rower, Craig Greenhill, after that knock in the first half. As Raper throws the pass. And Brown tackled now, 35 out from the Newcastle line. Slow play, the ball's coming from Cronulla. There's an inside ball, almost caught Stuart Topper out. Juggling take. Raper on the last tackle with a bomb for Robbie Ross this time. What can he do? Goes up high, loses the ball. It's play on for Cronulla, and it will be a try. It's Donaghy who gets the try. Ross was unable to take the ball. Cronulla have their second try, and that could be the match-winning lead.
Well, I think we should have looked there at Robbie Ross. Maybe he was tackled before he had a chance of going for the ball as well. Maybe have a look at that one, but certainly Cronulla. 2 tries in a short concession. They're looking good.
Yeah, great kick there. Aaron Raper's had a big game for Cronulla. And no, I thought he had every chance to get to the football. And in the end, Paul Donaghy runs around for his second. Jason Martin wasn't happy and took him out. You would think that would just about wrap it up for Cronulla. Under pressure, a good kick there by Raper. Now Ross, does he have every chance? Yes. Just good pressure by the Cronulla players, and Donaghy finishes it off. So they're steaming home, the Sharks.
And no protection there either for Robbie Ross as he went up for that take ball.
No, usually Robbie's very, very safe, and on the second look there, he had plenty of time to catch that ball, and it's just unfortunate. But I'd suggest again on the first half, even though the Knights are in front on the scoreboard, Cronulla done the homework. They've done the completions, and they're kicking consistently into Newcastle in goal, and have to field goal to them all the time, paying dividends, and that's probably been the difference.
Well, at this stage, it's looking like the side who's first into the grand final in reserve grade is also going to win, as was the case in President's Cup. This is a vital kick. The difference 6 points at the moment. Kurt Wrigley again, almost in the same position to the last kick. Didn't have too many problems with that one. This perhaps for the match-winning lead. Kurt Wrigley hooks it in. That's the extra 2. Cronulla lead by 8. The Sharks 12, Newcastle 4. We're inside the final 10 minutes now. Cronulla with that very handy 8-point lead. And they're with the ball on the last tackle, 20 metres out from the line. We've seen some pretty heavy defence from the Newcastle players in that set of 6. It could be just a little too late as Robbie Ross with it. And great chase from Stuart Topper. Hems him inside the Newcastle half. Away to Grogan now. The shabby defensive line that time. Grogan was almost through, tackled by Raper. Just short of halfway. Martin comes across the field now to David Smith. It's all the backs involved at the moment for Newcastle. Chapman through Jason Martin. He was hit hard by Nathan Long. Great tackle and knock on against the Newcastle Knights. Put that one down to Nathan Long.
Well, Jason Martin's directed play very well for Newcastle today. On this occasion, the good defence is the one that forces the mistake by Nathan Long,
who's had a very, very good game, not just in defence, but also on go forward. He's been a key player for Cronulla.
The Sharks winning that scrum. Pass away now to Brown, comes back in field.
once again, Brown had an opportunity, had 2 men unmarked on his outside and went back inside. So in future, you have to take the blinkers off Brown and have a look around at what's outside him.
Pass away to Greenhill. Again able to bump off the first player. Very impressive, Craig Greenhill, in this second half. And Raper away to Nathan Long. Met front on there by David Smith. They're 40 metres now out from the Newcastle line. All the time the clock counting down as Topper goes for a run himself. Cleaned up there by Driscoll. Still 40 out from the Newcastle line. Across the line they come to Brown. He throws the pass. Good tackle on Bell. That came from Michael Egar. The last for the Sharks. Brown away to Raper. Raper thinking about a field goal. Now the bomb. Ross is back. A bit more time to take it this time. And he does very well. But what about the chase from Cronulla? And it's by the big front rower, Craig Greenhill.
Well, Fatty, Cronulla just got boxing things up, waiting for the win. They're going for it. They're taking their calculated chances, and they want another try.
And here it was, the bomb. Robbie Ross, he did well as he turned around to take it, but Craig Greenhill, great tackle. Another change in the Cronulla line. Adam Maher is back on. Pierces the player off. And up comes Kurt Wrigley, 25 out from the Newcastle line. They can close it out altogether now, the Sharks, as Donaghy. Cross it comes to Kearns, tackled by Chapman. A loose ball out the back. Play on, in fact, 6 to go for the Cronulla Sharks. If there was a hand in there from Newcastle, it should have been the penalty. There's Topper. He throws it on to Long, 10 out. What about that tackle?
What about that? Billy Peden.
He's back.
He's come good, Billy.
The Terminator. As the ball comes inside, they may still get the try, the Sharks. Topper. Oh, gee, you could judge of a player. Billy Peden. Huge tackle. Raper, a dummy half. It comes across. The Sharks still going forward. Donaghy inside ball. Greenhill searching for the try. Right in front of the Newcastle posts. This will win them the match at 12 points to 4. It comes back again to try the field goal. I don't know about that. It's a goal in soccer. Not in rugby league. It goes under the crossbar. And Scott Brown was the player with the attempt. Tempers getting frayed here now, Fatty.
Newcastle get a penalty. David Smith quickly puts it out. So they'll be inside the Cronulla half. And with 5.5 minutes remaining, it really is getting desperation times for the Knights.
There's the set move from the tap. Grogan, the dummy in the run. Took it 10 metres. He's 35 out from the Cronulla line. They work forward through David Smith. Back to Grogan. He gets away from 2 inside the 20. Nathan Long tackles. Newcastle, they must score in this set of 6. Chapman away to Martin. He throws the ball on the outside to Butterfield. The wrap around with Skovgaard over the top. He's tackled. 19 metres out from the Cronulla line. Butterfield in a dummy half. They go back to the left. Martin. Madison brings it back centre field. Charges through. Beats 3 players. Tim Madison. Scott Brown makes the tackle. Cronulla down to 12. A man in back play down as Martin. They've got a chance here and they come up with a drop ball. I think that will be the last chance for Newcastle. A knock-on for the Knights against David Smith.
Yeah, David Smith hitting that ball at pace, couldn't handle it. He's been one of Newcastle's best, as a matter of fact. At least he's looked like making a break, he and Grogan. Jason Martin drifting across the field now, looking for a runner. Found Smith on the charge, but a nice tackle there by Raper forced the error.
Newcastle starting to throw the ball around a little bit, and I think it's disappointing they didn't try that in the first 10-15 minutes. They had plenty of opportunities. They've tried to play the percentage football. As I said about Cronulla, they're not protecting their lead. They're trying to go and score another try. Newcastle needed to do that. And I think with the increased intensity that they've had the last 5 minutes, because they're down, they've played much, much better.
Stuart Topper, the player receiving attention, will take a short break with Cronulla leading Newcastle. Reserve grade grand final, 12 points to on the Medicab. Here's the incident. Topper went in, knee over the top. And that's the end of Stuart Topper. Had a fine game for the Cronulla side. I don't think it'll spoil his celebrations too much tonight. A few stitches. A number of stitches, as a matter of fact. But the bottom line to this play is Cronulla have the feed 10 out from their own line after the mistake from David Smith. So they should win the scrum, the Sharks. The scrum was screwing, but coming up with the ball is the replacement player. And that is Glenn Hogan for the Sharks. A belated chance on the field in the reserve grade grand final. And Coleman ricocheted out of a tackle. Newcastle, plenty of feeling. Where was this in the first half? Although, mind you, they did do a pretty good defensive effort close to their line in the first 35. It could have been over by half-time. There's Raper in a dummy half. Kearns playing it. Away to Porter. He's back on, and now a penalty for inside the 10.
Certainly they're inside the 10 there, but it makes it very hard late in the game, and Bill Harrigan or the referees refereeing from the ruck.
Cronulla, a bit of a board meeting on the kick for the line. Kurt Wrigley will have the job. They're the ones leading by 8 points. No urgency whatsoever. Wrigley with a kick. And a good one as well from centre field. They're 25 metres out now from the Newcastle line. They've had a distinct advantage in the penalties, the Cronulla side. 7-2, as you just saw. And the restart comes the way of Porter. Up over the 20. Slipped the pass. Well, that's not Michael Porter's go. Could be his last game. It's his first pass of his career. Not a good one.
No. Michael Porter retiring in a few minutes along with Glenn Coleman, the two players involved in this little incident here. A knock-on seen by Billy Harrigan. So once again, Newcastle, they're 80 metres out and desperate.
Jason Martin from the scrum base. Away to Grogan. The ball comes loose. It came off a Cronulla player. Comes back to Robbie Ross. Now to Egar. On to Vincent on the outside, but the Cronulla chasers coming across the field. There's plenty of them. And Newcastle still 20 metres out from the line. This time Wayne Richards. They just need to throw everything now as Chapman. Across it comes to Skovgaard. Long ball to Martin, knocked down by Hogan. Back goes Jason Martin, so 6 to go. The tackle count restarts, but they've lost 15 metres on the play. Jason Martin keeps it going. Newcastle trying everything now. And now just a couple of minutes from full time as inside their own 20. Ross is away now to Grogan. Almost up to halfway. The ball inside was loose. Ross couldn't get to it. And Aaron Raper, a big effort to get across, comes up with the ball. That was the last chance for the Newcastle Knights. The determination on Michael Porter's face. The last hit up just like the first. He adjusts the headgear. He's now, it's Donaghy, is it? Tackled 35 metres out from the Newcastle line. Ball comes across to Marr. Madison went high over the top. Then another swinging arm came there from Butterfield. He's given a pat out of the way by Scott Brown. This time the ball with Kearns. Now just over a minute left to full time. Cronulla leading by 12 points to 4. Away to Nathan Long. Still plenty of feeling from the Newcastle defence. It was Bill Peden with a tackle.
Yes, and there'll be a penalty here. A Newcastle player called out by Bill Harrigan for a swinging arm in the tackle on Nathan Long. So you would think Wrigley would have a shot at goal to try and give him a couple more points. Chapman being called out. Here he comes in here with the swinging arm there right around the choppers. And yes, Wrigley having a shot for goal, so it's all over here with 30 seconds remaining. Cronulla worthy victors of this reserve grade grand final. Some of their good players, Nathan Long, Adam Marr in the back row, along with Aaron Raper. I thought the captain had a fine game, directing things from dummy half. And out in the back's Paul Donaghy with his 2 tries. Bit of a hero now for the Cronulla boys. Stuart Topper also, at halfback, had a big game.
Yeah, you've got to hand it to him. Also, Craig Greenhill there got knocked out early in the match and come back. He deserves a pat on the back. That's real courage, and I'm sure the headache will go tonight. It's a good grand final, a good game.
So the hooter sounds as Wrigley's lining up the kick. We'll try and add the extra 2 points. He does that. So the perfect ending for the Cronulla Sharks. They've completed the double. They've won the reserve grade grand final by 14 points to 4. Coming on top of the President's Cup victory by 30 points to 6. Some happy Sharks. Their coach John Dykes successful. And a proud day for him to see his son win in President's Cup. Part of that team, the 5'8" Adam Dykes, are now reserve grade. Down by 4 points to 0 at half-time. They failed to come up with a try in the first half. They tried everything but couldn't come up with the points in the second half. 2 tries to their centre Paul Donaghy, 3 out of 3 to Kurt Wrigley. And Cronulla successful, winning the reserve grade title for 1994, and an end to 2 of their war horses, if you like. Glenn Coleman certainly given them great service. Michael Porter also looks like he's on the way out. Player on screen there, Alan Wilson, not signed up. He has the distinction of skippering the North Sydney side last year in the reserve grade grand final to victory. This year, different club back home with the Cronulla Sharks. A great moment for him, Alan Wilson. So Cronulla, the reserve grade premiers. They won through in the major semi, defeating Newcastle 16-14. And today they've taken out the match by 14 points to 4. And it's their first ever reserve grade title. We'll take a break. This is the grand final day 1994. We'll be back in a moment with more.
Spring sunshine for grand final day 1994, and what a day it has been for Cronulla, taking out the President's Cup grand final and now the reserve grade grand final. A fabulous effort by a club that seems to be on the move and certainly has some promising young talent playing the game out there in Shark territory. Right now, let's join Brad Levy for the presentation to the Sharks.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very special win to the Cronulla Sharks, who have taken out both lower grades this afternoon. Congratulations to the Sharks. And joining me on stage for the presentation of the reserve grade, former Australian halfback Peter Sterling, and also Mr. Cole Rochester, New South Wales State Manager for Rothmans of Pall Mall. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Sterling.
Thank you, Brad. Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously it's been a great day for the Cronulla club, winning both the President's Cup and the reserve grade. I'm sure their first grade coach, John Lang, is sitting back with a smile on his face as he looks over the wealth of talent that the Cronulla Sharks do possess in their lower grades. Commiserations, of course, do go to the Newcastle club. I'd imagine they believe they had their opportunity. They led by 4 points at the half-time break. They're still chasing their first premiership in any grade, but I'm sure that's not too far down the track. Also a disappointing end, I would imagine, for their halfback and captain, Jason Martin, for his playing days at the Newcastle Knights club. And would now like to call on Jason to respond on behalf of the Knights.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start by congratulating the Cronulla side. They certainly showed they deserved their win today. We all thought we thought at Newcastle that we had the better of them during the week, but they showed they're worthy winners. So congratulations, boys. Enjoy yourself tonight and good luck next year. I'd also like to thank everyone at Newcastle, all the boys I play with. They certainly show that they're a great side. There's a lot of talent in that side, so I'm sure you'll see them in the first grade paddock in the years to come. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now ask Mr. Cole Rochester, New South Wales State Manager, Rothmans of Pall Mall, to present the reserve grade trophy to the Cronulla Sharks captain, Alan Wilson.
Well, it was a great effort. There was probably some better sides we played throughout the year, but there probably wasn't a side that was prepared to play till the full-time bell like we were. We out-muscled plenty of sides with enthusiasm, and it got us home. And it's even more special because we beat probably the best side in the comp, and they've been the most consistent for the last 3 years, and I'm sure they'll get their turn. But I'd just like to thank our guys for a great effort, all the staff, Reebok, and all our trainers, Peter Hadfield, Paul Watson, Steve Mill, Kenny Brown, everyone. And I'd just like to say this is a tribute to a dear friend of ours, Benny Lightshart.
Thank you, Alan. Very special win to the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'd ask Alan to bring his team forward to receive the tankards from Cole and from Peter. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for the Cronulla Sharks.
Terrific effort there by the Cronulla Sharks, and Benny Lysart, young player who died tragically only a month or so back, was very much an integral part of the Cronulla scene, and it was a very emotional speech there by Alan Wilson, and he really did come from the bottom of the heart. But a wonderful day for the Sharks, winning both the President's Cup Grand Final, now the Reserve Grade Grand Final. They are headed for a tremendous future with that much young talent running around on the paddock. Paul Vaughton, that was a special moment for them, wasn't it? In the end, we almost forgot about that, and then Alan raised it.
Yes, of course. All of those players today, they'd all be willing to donate a part of their medal. Very happy boys to Ben, who tragically died a couple of weeks ago. So a special day for Cronulla. Magnificent young players they've got in their club, winning the 2 lower grade premierships today, and it'll be... The Cronulla League Club will be rocking and rolling tonight, Kenny.
It certainly will, and good luck to them, because they deserved it. They played great football. Well, a little earlier today, we saw obviously the Bulldogs arrive. Well, now it's the Raiders' turn. The Raiders arrived in their bus, ready for what should be a terrific grand final coming up in just on an hour's time. Ricky Stewart, the key, obviously, to the Raiders. Then young Mullins, who's had a fabulous season. Exciting player, the talk of the town. Lomax, the man who won't be playing today, feeling very, very sorry for him. Yen Daly, as the players roll out through the crowd. Mal Meninga playing his last game here at the Sydney Football Stadium before he retires. And won't that be an emotional moment for him? Back with more at the Football Stadium right after this.